Hello, and welcome to Japanese craft beer reviews. Today we're going to look at a beer that is from Belgium, not Japan, and it is a style that is called Lambic, and it is made by a brewery called Lindemans. And we will talk a little bit about Lindemans briefly here. Lindemans is a brewery that's been going since 1822, and apparently they're now in 6 generations, but that seems a little bit too few generations for 1822. But in any case, they are long-standing, and they're located a few kilometers outside of Brussels, just to the southwest. Here, if you look at the map, you can see where Lindemans is located. Here's a map of lambic producers in Belgium. And they're famous for making, of course, lambic beers and goose beers. I'll talk about that in a second. And gin. And let's talk about lambic. Lambic is a beer that is probably the one that Belgians can claim complete mastery over, definitely. And it's supposedly the term lambic comes from the town of Lembeek in Belgium, Lembeek, and the beer is made in a very special way. It's made by what's called spontaneous fermentation. So the base beer is brewed, and then it's taken up to attic areas and poured out into shallow pans, generally metal pans. They're quite long and quite shallow. And then the windows are left open for one night, and whatever microflora that come in on the breeze and settle on to the unfermented wort will begin the fermentation. So one night, that's all. And the beer is impregnated, so to speak, with the wild yeast. And apparently this area has some very special yeasts that produce the best lambics. And so one night, and then it's fermented generally in oak barrels, large oak barrels called foeders, Foeder, foeder. And you can find pictures of these. They're huge oak tanks. And then the beer is matured, and generally for 6 months or so, and then finally it's blended. So some beer is drunk straight as goose. You can find examples of that. Goose, Cantillon makes some, Girardin makes some, and other beer is blended into to create goose, and so what they take is unfermented or fermented beer plus lambic to produce what's called goose. And a couple of the beers we're going to look at in this short series of 3 beers, I have 2 beers which are mixed fermentation and 1 strawberry lambic, which is a new one from them. So we'll take a look at these 3 beers. So goose, they probably are most famous, and probably their best one is called Goose Cuvée René, and it's kind of hard to find. They made one with Mikkeller called Spontan Basil, and also they're famous for their Oud Lambic, an aged lambic. Okay, all right. So enough about the brewery. Let's get on to the beer. Okay. And here is the beer we're going to look at today. It is called Lindemans Tarot D'Or of gold, and it's subtitled Exotic Fruit. And this is, again, a beer from Lindemans. It is considered a flavored fruit beer. They call it a lambic. It is actually, I think, mixed fermentation, which means fermented beer plus lambic mixed together. And this is a fairly new one since 2023, apparently. And it is 8%, 11 international bittering units. On rate beer, there are only 62 ratings, and the average is not very high, 3.09 out of 5. And 24 percentile for all beers on rate beer, and 45 percentile which means out of 100, for its style, which is flavored fruit beer. Untapped, 8,288 separate ratings, and the average is higher, as it tends to be on Untapped, 3.43. And this is a 25 centiliter bottle, or 25 millimeters, not millimeters, I'm sorry. In any case, you get it. It's a small bottle. And this costs 528 yen, where I purchased it. That would be $3.48 in US dollar terms, and euros 3.21. Okay, so the tarot, of course, is refers to the tarot cards, and which are used for things like fortune telling, divination, just for fun as well. This is flavored with, as they say on the back, with honeydew melon, mango, and lime. It's also got a dash of sugar in it as well. Okay, so this should be quite unusual. All right, and let's give this one a go. We'll pop it open. Okay, and lambics are traditionally served in a fluted glass, a glass that has some kind of fluted lines on the bottom. I don't have one of those. What I do have is my glass from Ibaraki Bakuon Festival, which is a music and beer festival, and the 2014 iteration of that. The last time I went, I was able to see a wonderful band called Shonen Knife. Look them up if you haven't seen them. Okay, so here we have the beer. It is very, very clear, with some substantial carbonation rising from the bottom. About a finger, no, a quarter finger of foam. You can smell it right away. Definitely. You can smell the mango. Something like pineapple. Perhaps that's the melon. Definitely, it intimates it's going to be very sweet. Should we give it a go? Okay. Definitely some light tropical fruitiness. Very smooth. The mango comes out. Pineapple, very definitely. Melon? Perhaps. I'm not a big fan of melon, but apparently they used it in here. It does have a light lambic sort of tingle on the tongue. Slightly warming, 8%. And lambics, or especially lambics, and sometimes I guess goose as well, has this kind of retronasal thing that kind of fills up in the sinuses and mid palate, and a little pop, and then filters down to the end. This is interesting. Very, very fruity. Not terribly lambic-like, but I don't know if I probably didn't say this in the introduction, but Lindemans has a sort of a base line that you can find a lot of places here, so I guess they can kind of make those on an industrial scale. These perhaps less so, but it doesn't have a real kind of strong craft sort of feeling to it. So the base lambic may not have been terribly lambic-y. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, you want to give this a try, I think. It's not the kind of beer you want to drink a lot of, I suppose, and hence, you know, the small bottles, 8%. So, you know, you probably sip this, and yeah, generally lambics tend to be a little bit lower in alcohol than that. Interesting. Worth a try, and not terribly pricey. Again, this is called Lindemans Tarot D'Or or exotic fruit. made by Brouwerij Lindemans, and it's 8% with 11 international bitter units. Give it a go, and tell me your experience with lambic beers. Tell me if I had my facts straight in the how lambic is produced. Tell me whatever you want. Leave a comment, okay? And I hope to hear from you, and I hope you will subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.